let's just get to the point. There are extraterrestrials here. The only thing we haven't resolved yet is the government telling us that. In order to help facilitate that, we have scheduled an event in Washington, D.C., which is unprecedented. It has never been done before. For 5 days, from April 29 to May 3, we will hold a citizens' hearing on disclosure of an extraterrestrial presence engaging the human race. We'll do this because the United States Congress has not held a hearing on this matter for 44 years, the last one being 1968. In spite of the vast amount of evidence that's come forward, the witnesses that have come forward, Congress just hasn't gotten around to it. And so we will hold the hearing that they won't hold, the citizens' hearing. And for those 5 days, approximately 40 witnesses from around the world, about a third of which will be the top researchers in the world, and the other two-thirds will be former members of the United States military or civilian agencies such as NASA or intelligence agencies such as the CIA, as well as militaries in France, the United Kingdom, Peru, Chile, Argentina. And they're going to provide additional events and evidence that they have first and second-hand access to while during their career, and they will provide that to former members of Congress, which is to say that the main ballroom of the press club in Washington, D.C., 2 blocks from the White House, is going to be converted into a hearing room with a 300 audience, 3 or 4 press sections, testimony tables, hearing tables. This has never been done before. Nor has this concentration of witnesses and material on the subject ever been brought together in this way before. In addition, we're going to live stream the entire 30 hours to the world over the internet in at least 4 and possibly 5 languages. In addition to holding this hearing, we're going to create a documentary about it. The event is being produced by Paradigm Research Group, and I'm the executive director of Paradigm Research Group. This is an advocacy organization that has been pursuing the political resolution of this issue since 1996. I'm now going to introduce you the producer of the documentary and president of Just Cause Entertainment, Ruben Langdon.
Hi guys, thanks for coming out. We're going to be doing a documentary with our lovely director, Jeremy Corbell.
Lovely.
Over here to the left. I'm helping Steve with the coordination and production of the event, but the goal is to cover everything, and hopefully, in addition to the theaters, hopefully we can get our film into next year's Sundance. So I'm going to let Jeremy talk about the backgrounds of the story and the story that's going to be told.
Well, I'm really excited to engage this issue, through the eyes of Steve and what he's been doing for decades. Essentially, for me, it's beyond an idea of belief. Okay, there's a lot of evidence out there, but separate from that, just belief itself, it's fascinating to me that over half of the U.S. population believes that ETs and UFOs and all this have been engaging humanity, and that's more than 50% from all polls you ever get from this. It's pretty incredible that all of our actions are based on our beliefs, and that this is something that people don't really readily talk about. But we have these witnesses, such as Edgar Mitchell, an astronaut, an American hero, comes out on television and it explains his perspective on this issue, and it's not picked up in a greater way. That's mind-boggling. So the opportunity I have as a filmmaker is to look through the lens and the eyes of people like Steve and show what they've been doing and why they've dedicated their lives to this, and the kind of human interest, the human side to this. Because, this belief, although I believe there's tons of evidence for it, but this belief has dictated the lives of people such as Steve and a lot of the witnesses he's going to have. And as you'll notice with a lot of the witnesses that are going to be called forward, it has been a huge impact in their life when they've had an experience that they've had to suppress, because of government rules or whatever. So I can't think of anything more fascinating to engage than this issue. And it doesn't matter really if you believe or not believe. The evidence is there. It's just a matter of looking at it. So that's the bottom line. I'm very excited. I'm stoked to be with these guys, and hopefully we will create something that is emotionally compelling and not just informational. And that's the power of film. That's the power of documentary. And we'll do it in a way that is unique and provocative, and hopefully will shed some light on an issue that is quite complicated.
I'm going to, in just a few minutes, introduce a very important person to you, and I think the chief news that's here today for the press. And that is a gentleman, a remarkable person, who in 1997 came forward and spoke directly to this issue and has stuck with it over 15 years. So with that, we're going to bring Edgar Mitchell on board. All right, let's give Edgar a hand. We'll welcome him. We're good? All right, Edgar, I told them that you were going to be our international spokesperson on the citizen hearing. You have a few words, thoughts on that?
Let's start out with the fact that what we're talking about here is our place in the universe, and are we alone in the universe, UFO visitation, and all these things. And we're at a different part in history than any of our predecessors. We have started to explore our solar system and are going into space, but it looks like our visitors, the evidence would suggest they've been coming here for at least hundreds of years, and maybe much longer. Our predecessors here on Earth invented stories about going to space, but we really didn't have big telescopes out in space that can see the world in a larger view and better view than we've been able to. We really didn't have any understanding of just how big and how magnificent and how wondrous this universe that we live in, how it is. And we're into an entirely new era here, and the evidence is very strong that we've been visiting for a long, long time. It goes back to biblical times, even with stories of young visions of the sky. We've been visited for quite some time. And I think we have to come to terms with that, and our governments and our civilizations have to come to terms with that. And let's open this up so that it's a part of our culture. It's amazing to me that the world in general hasn't been far more active in this. Now, I don't know whether that is because our religious disciplines have kept a cap on things, or who's held it back. But it's clear that some people have been deliberately withholding information from the rest of the world.
Yeah, I have a question. Is there any chance that any of the principal individuals involved in the research behind this are going to possibly go to great personal risk in violating non-disclosure agreements on classified information? Is it possible anybody's going to come forward like that?
Paradigm Research Group in its 16 years has never encouraged anybody to violate the law, violate their national security classification and non-disclosures, and come forward on this. This is a decision that they make, and everyone is different. But I believe, and still believe, that it's possible to end the truth embargo without anybody having to break the law.
Yeah, I guess my question is, I'm excited to work with these guys and be directing a documentary film. What I wanted to ask you is, what is your personal hope for the citizens' hearing? What is the hope you have? How might it influence our culture or humanity, this citizens' hearing?
Well, I firmly believe that this is vital information that we need to know, and we have to become more farsighted, more educated, and more calm about the fact that this universe isn't as we have had it portrayed to us over the centuries. The ancients simply didn't have the tools to figure out what we're in. And in this century, we're starting to break that, start to understand that we're not alone here, and they're all over. That there's a lot in this universe that we know nothing about.
Absolutely. And along those lines, well, one last question, Dr. Mitchell. There are hundreds and hundreds of billions of planets in our galaxy, and of course we're one of hundreds of billions of galaxies, and that there are many billions of planets that are actually potential Earths. Isn't that an extraordinary sea change in perception that just obviously confirms that the likelihood of us being alone is next to zero?
Well, I think absolutely it is, and that's what the ancients did not know for these hundreds and thousands of years that we've had recorded history. They really didn't have any sure way to know what we're dealing with, and it's a revelation to us. I don't know whether in this century we're going to really find out how many potential Earths there are, and galaxies and galactic clusters that we're dealing with. But at this point, we certainly know that it's a lot more than we ever thought about.
Absolutely. Dr. Mitchell, thank you so much for joining us here in Sundance. We're going to let you get back to your work. And once again, thank you for your commitment to the truth.
Okay, thank you.
Bye.
I know that you guys are going to be having the hearing. Are there any other additional sources that you'll be using, and are you working with a treatment?
The goal is to follow a few of the key witnesses, starting from now, actually, and leading all the way up to the event. And during the event, obviously, is key because we're going to have everybody in the same room at the same time. And then follow what happens after the event. And following the press's reaction to this is also key. And Jeremy, you can talk more on the personal side and what you plan.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, the most important thing about the approach to a film like this is that it's unlike anything that's occurred before because nothing has worked. I mean, to be honest with you, there's not a single documentary that's propelled this further, and I'm not sure why. It's a fascinating subject. It's the most intriguing subject I could possibly be involved with. So our attempt, together, collectively, will be to personalize the story a little bit, to take, some statement, such as you've heard from Dr. Mitchell today, and, show the humanity behind it. I mean, how loud does he have to scream in order for people to pay attention to what he's actually saying? He might talk softly, but what he's saying is profound. So that will be the attempt in making a film like this, is to personalize and humanitize the statements of the people that are speaking. Amplify their voices in a unique and artistic way, if that makes any sense. That's the attempt. Now, the goal is to make people start asking questions.
Alex.
I'm sorry. Earlier you stated that you believe that the public is ready to receive this information. In your personal opinion?
In the general public, meaning in general. There are a few people that are going to be troubled by it, yes. But there's always somebody troubled by something.
Of course. My question is, if the citizens' hearing goal is achieved, to say that the objective is to get Congress and get the government to effectively, approach this information and make an active effort to release this information to the public on a fair scale. Mm-hmm. What do you think the reaction would be from the public, or what the steps would be next if it actually took place?
Well, it's going to be streamed on the internet, so the nuts and bolts, the C-SPAN typical hearing situation, which typically you're going through C-SPAN and they're just talking about whatever, right? It's pretty boring. But this is going to be like flipping through the channels and you see, oh my God, they're talking about ETs. Wow.
It looks like a Senate hearing.
It looks like a Senate. So it could be deceiving in this case because it's not the History Channel throwing all the flash and the big lights and that. We'll do that later. So there's going to be that, and then there's going to be the actual documentary, which then goes more into the personal lives of these witnesses who've come up, and then the actual backdrop, having the citizens hearing as the backdrop is, I think it's just lots of layers in there for everybody to see. But now, we're going to have Steve was going to go in to say about potential. We're looking into potential release of the conference afterwards in whatever format, whether it's downloading the event and like that. But I think whatever comes of the actual broadcast, whether it's a live stream or if a network picks it up and they want to do whatever they want to do with it, it's kind of to be decided right now. But for sure, there's going to be, at minimum, people will be able to log in and say, well, it's day 5 of the event. What do I want to do? I'm going to check in and see where it's at. What happens after that, really the focus is the documentary.
Of course.
And the archived footage from the live stream will be available for everybody.
Shouldn't we be paying more attention or investing our time into more productive pursuits? Yes. That's the kind of issue that's standing behind the failure of the government, the Congress, and the media to treat this issue as it ought to be treated. That is why we're holding this hearing. That is why this movie will be created. And a lot of other things are happening. Folks, thank you so much for coming. It's been over an hour. That's a very long time. Keep in touch. And feel free to take one of these.